Hello, Faustiest Witch of them all. Are
I
you
never
there?
get bored of that.
You never get bored of that?
I never get bored of that. It's so cute.
It's kind of stereotypical, but I mean, it's the Fausty Witches Show. So, we're trying to be accessible and cute so that we're not too scary.
That is that. That
I
is
think
the truth.
some people that listen to the podcast, I think we're a little too scary, Chris.
That's fine. That's what they're there for.
So today we're talking about charms, aren't we? I've been told I'm very charming. The old ladies love me.
Well, they do.
Yeah.
But most of them can't see or hear.
This is true. This is very true.
So, so what are we going to cover today? We've called it charms classes.
Well, we got to define what a charm is, haven't we?
I suppose. Well, you're the expert, Mr. Cunningman.
Oh, well, I suppose. A charm is one of those things from my perspective that is a little piece of, like a mechanized piece of magic, I suppose. Because when I think of charm, someone says the word charm, I also associate it with talisman and I associate it with amulet. It's normally some kind of physical that often will go with kind of a verbal spell or a verbal charm sometimes. And it's kind of a mechanized little spell. And very often, for me, charms equal something to sell. So for me, it's kind of like the work is already done at that point. Okay, it's literally this isn't actually Lloyd Grossman sauce, but it's a Lloyd Grossman sauce bottle. This is something else which I'm not allowed to say what it is because I don't want the police to come knocking on my door. Probably shouldn't have put that on the YouTubes or wherever the fuck we are, Facebook. But anyway, ignore that.
Probably gone with a shoe of a horse.
Imagine a Lloyd Grossman bottle of that Lloyd Grossman sauce. It's pre-made, isn't it? It's pre-made. They've done kind of the first cooking and putting together. You just got to warm it up like a ready meal. When it comes to charms, I'm kind of thinking you're making this thing in order to utilize later or a kind of ongoing thing. So, you could liken it to the Lloyd Grossman sauce, or you could liken it to that little solar light that you've got out in the garden. You do the rigmarole of making it and putting it there, and then it does what it needs to do, what it's programmed to do, which is to make the ugly little creatures that is designed to look like little eyes light up. Why people buy these things, I'm not entirely sure, but there's no accounting for taste, they do say.
No, there is no accounting for taste. But yeah, I like that, with a defined mechanism. I like that mechanism. But yeah, it for me is same. Charms are those kind of magical objects, those pre-charged. They're always pre-charged. They're not something that necessarily is going to work indefinitely, because it's got to be powered all the time. So unless it's been built with a solar panel like those dodgy solar lights you're talking about, it's not going to necessarily power itself. And people forget this, obviously, with their basic charms, that obviously it needs to, once it's done the job it's supposed to do, you got to clean it and change its batteries, recharge it again before it can fire again, which I think is the other reason I don't like using them. This kind of one trick pony situation where you've got a gun but it's only got one shot in it.
But that's why witchcraft stores sell them, because it's literally you want to attract some money or you want to repel something specific. I can sell you a pre-made thing that you don't have to do anything with, that you could just dangle around your neck or stick, or on the dangle it from the little mirror in your car, like these protection travel charms and that kind of thing, and it's easy. Now, here's an interesting one. I just googled definition charm, And there's a couple of things, right? So the power or quality of delighting, attracting, or fascinating others. Now I'm
That's what
thinking
you were
they're
talking
glamorous,
about.
glamour magic, the kind of charming thing,
Yeah.
you know? Glamour magic, you could make a charm that would glamour you essentially, couldn't you? So if you
Yeah.
wanted to appear interesting or people gravitate towards you, you could maybe create a charm that would do that. Very often, you don't even necessarily need to make it magical because you go to whatever Next or these places which sell the clothes and that, and they've often got the little roundy kind of little stands by the tills, and they sell like cheap knockoff jewelry made out of plastic and cheap metal and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They
Little
normally
bits
sell
of
it for like
tin.
£3, and they got a fascinating little pendant or something. That's interesting. You put the little pendant around, and then you look. Sorry, love, I wasn't looking at your boobs. I was looking at that lovely necklace you've got round your neck. Might
Yeah.
draw the attention in, something like that. That's not really magical, but at the same time, you could be thinking, well, if you just added a little bit of magic to that, pendants and stuff. There was one actually on the definitions. A small ornament worn on a necklace or bracelet. So
Oh
kind
yeah,
of like the
them
little
lucky
trinkets,
charms.
charms bracelet.
Yeah.
So you kind of have the idea of if you had a bracelet with charms on it. Nowadays, Thomas Sabo, or is it Pandora that does all the charms and that?
Yeah, Pandora's the big one.
They don't sell magical charms. They just sell the kind of idea of there's a little symbolic thing that you like the look of and you put on a charm. But actually, if you had these bracelets, you could be putting little charms on there that are magically supposed to do something. Kind of like on that TV show. Is it Shadow Hunters? Where they do the
Yeah,
runes on?
with
Yeah,
the
they're all
rune.
designed to do something specific. Chris, you look away with the fairies. Is something manifested in front of you?
There's a fly that
Oh,
came when we were doing the podcast earlier, then left, and it's
oh.
back again. And I'm like, I can't get up to kill you, so fuck off. Anyway, sorry. What I was about to ask you a question.
Oh,
So,
God.
how do you feel about with these charm bracelets and things like that, and these kind of superstition charms? So, how they're the kind of level of charm we're talking there. Like the evil eye for travel. The blue and white travel charm and things like that that have an innate energy built from the superstition that's there. So
So
every
the
the
use
person,
of them, kind of like a
yeah,
tulpa. So many people buy it and that kind of thing. There's not really, they haven't really put any magic into it or anything, but
yeah,
it's gone to it that it retains a certain something.
there's a small innate level of charge, like horseshoes, for example. Like as soon as someone
Yeah,
hangs a horseshoe, or those what
yeah.
are they called? They're brass ones. I don't know if people have them in other countries, but in the UK, like you have that kind of brass. And they're not
The
buckles,
brass
but they're
horseshoes that you see a lot in pubs, particularly around fireplaces, you mean?
yeah, they hang on the bridle,
Yeah.
um, on the big kind of pulling horses, the big shires, and they got all
Hmm.
these kind of brass. I can't even think what they're called. That's really going to annoy me now. But they've got an innate charm that's there, that's
Yeah.
built out of this kind of, like you say, shared tulpa like behavior of, it's a general superstition that everybody's got in their kind of subconscious. So every time anybody sees one, they're charging it without realizing, because they all go, "Oh, that's there because of this." And what they don't realize is they're handing over these little bits of energy that keep it going. And obviously, normally the person selling it has obviously kind of gone, "Well, I sell these because people believe they're such and such." So that acknowledgement of belief is often enough to kind of push the continued. Missed him.
Oh, you're a bad witch killing a living thing, Chris. The good witches out there
Oh,
won't
I've
look.
killed a lot
They
worse
won't
than
look kindly
flies.
on that.
Don't joke. Anyway, sorry. It's distracting me because it's a really annoying sound.
Well,
I'm
someone makes
hoping
a
you all
good
can't
point
hear it.
actually in the comments. So I have never had much luck with sold charms I've bought in the past myself. You usually have more luck with spells and charms I do myself. Well, the thing is, the vast majority, I'd say probably 99% of the charms you buy, there's no magic been done to those charms. There's
No,
no energy that's been put into them. They're literally sold
other than the
as
superstition.
kind of shops. Even in this in the magic, so say magic shops and witchy shops and that, going around Glastonbury, you'll see lots of charms for sale, but they've not been worked. They've not, no magical practitioners actually done any work with them. They're just come from a Chinese wholesaler, you know, and that's what you kind of need to remember. And you know, if you're buying one of those, I don't really have a problem with that because I've bought things like that that I've then turned into a magical charm. Okay. But a lot of people, of course, expect them to work
Them to
straight
have
away.
some kind of power.
Yeah. And back in the day, of course, they would, because back in the day when you had um, magical priests and priestesses and the like in these big mystery schools and cult centers, in order to raise money, they might
Oh, do you mean
sell
like the
things like
Lucky Heifer in
mummified cats, for
Glastonbury?
example. I had a dad in a previous life that was a priest that made charms in a temple. Yeah, there's a bit of trivia for you. Exciting. Here we go. We've got another question. It
Although
might
I've
be a
just realised you
demand,
called us the
actually.
Faulty
Can
Show.
you talk about empowering an object the way you did about crystals in another faulty shell? Faulty shell? I think you mean Fausty shell. So empowering an object the way you did about crystals. I think I remember that show. That was when I did the crystal wheel and Chris told me to shut up because I was being too rude. Is that the one you mean, Lauren?
Yeah, I think that's the one they mean.
Okay. All right, Chris, we'll talk about that then.
Oh, you're expecting me to do it? Okay, that's
Well,
fine. That's
empowering
fine.
an object the way you did about the crystals. You were giving us the instructions. I remember I pretended to be the mundane, and then you were giving me instructions on how to ward this little piece of, was it lava rock or something against
Yeah,
COVID?
that was it. That was
Yeah,
it.
and I never
'Cause
got the COVID, so
you were
must have
being
worked.
sacked, weren't you? You were on the naughty step.
I was very close to being booted off. Yeah, I was very
So
naughty then.
it was soon to
It was one
become
of our best
the
episodes,
Fausty
I'd like to
Witch
think.
Show.
Well, people learnt a lot from it. Clearly, someone remembers it. So, yeah, empowering the object. So, if you did have an object, so imagine you buy some god awful little trinket from AliExpress, and then, right, you buy 100 of them for £1, and then you think, I've got a witchcraft shop, the Thoth Witchcraft Shop. I'll sell all of these, but I'll sell them, you know, with a bit of a magic in them. Okay. So I'll take that little cat trinket and I'll think, okay, what can I do with that? What's symbolic of that? Well, I don't know. Maybe something along the lines of, you know, in the shadows, you know, going without sight, invisibility, you know, because I have tried to sell an invisible charm before to someone, and unfortunately they did say it was like an emperor's no clothes moment. They said there's nothing there. I said, no, you just can't see it. And they did say, well, I would be able to feel it when I picked it up out of the box, but I couldn't feel it. I said, damn, what's happened when you open the box is they fell on the floor, and now you're never going to find it, are you? Because it's difficult enough finding something that you can see. If you ever notice that when you drop something on the floor, it's fucking difficult finding it, even if you can see the thing, right?
Yeah.
Drop a ring or something off of a ring or a little trinket on the floor, it takes ages to find it if you ever do find it. And that you can technically see. Imagine trying to find something that you can't see. So, Chris, you've got the little trinket. It's a little cat because cats are popular, and you want to empower it to make the owner invisible, kind of like a glamour. How would you go about doing that magically? Because it's to sell, so it's not for yourself; it's for someone else. You see?
Yeah. So I wouldn't pre-charge it for them. I would expect them to do it. So obviously for me, it would be a little charm kit, I imagine, where you'd have to do the work at home and to charge and
Yeah,
bind
you're
it
not
to
allowed to do
yourself.
that, Chris. You got to do
Why
the
not?
magic for them because they're paying
Oh,
you a
no,
lot
I
of money
don't.
to do it for them.
That's going to be a really expensive charm bracelet for
Yeah,
them.
it's 100 grand for a
Oh,
little
okay, that's
silver,
fine.
little
For
silver
that,
cat.
then I'll probably make them invisible.
Yeah,
Just
but they want a little trinket they can put on their Pandora bracelet.
okay.
You've got the trinket. It came from AliExpress. You got 100 of them actually, so it basically cost you a penny. But you're selling it for 100 grand because obviously you're putting a lot
Because
of
I'm
magic
doing all the
into that.
spell work, yeah.
So how are you making it? How are you making the magic, infusing it with the magic? Are you using your own power for that?
Oh no. Oh, I don't know
Well,
if
it
I
is
don't know if
100 grand.
100 grand is worth
How
my
much is it for you to
power.
imbue it with your own power?
I suppose. Um, this is so too hardcore for Fausty. Essentially, you're finding a way to imbue something with power. So those tend to be more kind of slightly more ritualized. The reason for that is because you're normally transferring energy in order to allow this to be in order to allow this to sustain a power. So the big problem with invisibility, if you can go down the glamour route in order to make something disappear, in which case, you know, you've got two choices with invisibility, really. You've got a glamour or you've got mind control, like good old fashioned mind control, which means that the glamour allows it to kind of essentially bend a field around you. But with with mind control, the other option would be that you're setting a program that anyone that comes into contact with the bracelet's kind of radius, however big you're going to have to set that, means, which is going to have to be pretty big if you're wanting this to work all the time, because it'd be a case of otherwise anybody outside that field will see a person. So you would need it to be wide enough that you couldn't tell there was a person there at a distance. So you're talking a good probably 100 yards or whatever needs to be able to reach this. That's a lot of power to keep something like that powered. Obviously, you're probably not going to need that big a radius if you're only going to use it at night to rob banks. But, you know, it really depends on what you're going to use it for. But yeah, those are kind of your two choices if we're going to go with the invisibility version. So you first got to decide on which one of those two you're going for. And like with any other magic spell that we talked about, you know, three sides of the triangle situation, you have to find a big enough power source to power that and maintain itself. So like I say, the problem with a lot of these charms is they are designed for one use. So you're going to need something that is constantly pulling in energy and is capable of doing that. Or it's going to be an object that is pulling on a particular kind of energy that is often always present. So this is why jewelry works so well, because people come into contact with them and go, oh, that's nice. That's something new. It's something sparkly. Draws a person's attention long enough for them to give over energy. That, you know, where attention goes, energy flows. So, you know, you normally would go with something that is kind of either glitzy in order to attract people's eye. So gold, silver, doesn't need to be diamonds, but just needs to be kind of different enough that it draws attraction. Or you provide something that is tactile, which is the other reason I quite like textile magic, is that people can't resist but to touch it. At which point you can pull energy from anybody that touches the item. So, you know, you're wanting to kind of go down either of those routes if you're going to try and power something as big as invisibility. The reason I'm saying that's big, because that, like I say, there are only two ways to do that. There is no magic paint that you can put on your skin that's going to make you entirely translucent. One, because you need to then apply it to every layer beyond that, every layer of skin, every organ. Your blood needs to be decolored. Like, there's a reason all these things are colored and solid. So, you know, you've got two choices for it. It's a glamour that kind of bends the law of physics, or you go down the mind control route. So, it's got to be one of those two options in order to make something that big. What's the word? Manifest. That's the word I wanted. So yes, you're going to need the power, and you're going to need to understand how you're making that work. So, there's your power source and your kind of your goal. And then the other part is obviously the journey between those two. So how does that happen? So, if you're going for a glamour version of invisible, are we bending light so that you disappear? Are we using physics in that way? Or is it mind control, where you're making every person that looks upon you and whatever it is that you're using as the charm is doing the opposite of jewelry? So it's got to be pushing out. It's got to be pushing out an energy that forces people to not see that you're there, or see you but instantly forget they've just seen you. Hence the mind control part. That's tricky. Also requires a lot more power than bending physics. That's a little bit for your mind to go and wonder where that works. Physics is a lot easier to break than somebody's mind. Just going to leave it there for that to percolate. Is there a particular question where you want to push me? As you set such a big task?
I was just going to say, I don't know if the Wi-Fi keeps going or whether it keeps cutting in and out or what.
Oh,
It
okay.
seems to keep cutting in and out my end, and I don't know whether that's the Wi-Fi or what.
I think it is your Wi-Fi.
Right, okay. I might have to swap over then a minute.
I'm watching the Facebook Live, and mine seems to be flowing, and yours was getting a bit jittery.
No. Okay.
That's fine. I can see you. Where you gone? Do.
No, it's not working. I don't know. I think we're cutting in and out there, so I'm not entirely sure how much has gone through. I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi, your Wi-Fi, or just the network at the moment. Who knows?
Well, while you were gone, faffing, I pointed out that I'm also watching it, so I can see it. You could see you freezing on the feed.
Right, okay.
So it might have been your Wi-Fi for a change.
Okay. You might have to take over a bit then. I'll have to try this out.
What do you mean? I've been doing all the work as it is. Bloody hell. Can't get the staff? Sack him. The annoying thing is I can't even jump to questions because he has the control-y button. So we'll let him faff with that. Oh, there we go. He is actually listening to me. That makes a change. As Alex said, it makes sense because everyone was more superstitious back in the day. Today, I suppose the problem, maybe a lot of people have a more rationalistic mindset, so nothing works. Actually, no, it's not so much, because this is the beauty about superstition, is that even people that have kind of given up religion, for example, I know a lot of people that don't go to church, but they're still really superstitious, even though a lot of these superstitions were created by the church, and are kind of God-fearing situations. So it's quite interesting that actually a lot of these, I know completely rational people that still salute magpies every time they see them, or greet them with a hello. So there is that kind of aspect of, there are some things that become an innate part of, because we as humans have got this as a shared consciousness that allows us to kind of still hold certain beliefs long after they've pretty much died out. It's like, but the thing is, what we've lost is knowing why it works. So we have to make the assumption or make it up, or kind of backtrack. So going back to the horseshoe is a perfect example of that thing. You still have it in your mindset. Oh, I see a horseshoe. It's supposed to be lucky. or maybe it's good luck. But they don't remember why it is good luck, because that part doesn't get carried on. But you know, at that point is where it becomes a superstition. No, I was just answering Alex's comment about it. It doesn't matter that people are more rational now. We still have superstition, and superstition allows a lot of these charms to still have an effect and a use now. That, like I say, what's been lost is why we do these things, because you know we've all got our whatever you were told. Everything's a bit Chinese whispery, where you know, oh well, we used to do that because grandma said such and such, and then you go 2 towns over and a different family go, oh well, grandma said that you use it for this reason, like, you know, and they've all got
grandma
their own
said you put it this
version.
way up. Well, my grandma said you put it this way up.
Yeah. You can't have it that way up because surely all the luck falls out.
Yeah.
And things
well, it's
and
not
things
supposed
like
to be
that.
for luck. It's supposed to be for protection.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's one that I'll probably expand on because I only heard a little bit of what you were saying. So I heard invisibility in magic just means a dampening of the aura rather than true invisibility. Is that really the case? I think that to a certain extent, yes, very often that's the case, because what you need to remember with how sight works is that your mind interprets what your eyes are picking up with the light and all that kind of thing. So the mind decides whether it pays attention to what it's seeing. Now, there are apparently, and I don't know how they prove this, but a psychologist said this to me. This could be pseudoscience, I don't know. Psychology is a kind of a social science after all, Chris, isn't it? So I liken it a lot to magic. Whereby when people came over to America for the first time, or the official first time, then the tribal Indians and that were there, they looked at all these ships and they could not see them because they did not understand them. And I kind of think I can kind of understand where you're going from. I think the perspective is that you're seeing something, but you've never seen that thing before, therefore you don't know what it is, basically. So I liken it to when we go and do a paranormal investigation and turn all the lights off and someone's left a Tesco bag on top of the radiator, and the Tesco bags are kind of moving a little bit and are floating up because of the heat, and people say, look, there's a ghost, I can see it, it's got a face, when actually it's a Tesco's carrier bag that someone left on the radiator cover, and it's retained a bit of heat and blown up a little bit, and it looks like it's moving about in a kind of etheric translucent way. I kind of think it's you haven't got anything to relate it to, so the mind is trying to work out and the mind's getting confused, or it's just ignoring
it backfills the story.
So when we apply this to the charm, if I give my interpretation of how I'd build a charm, so we got the cat charm that we're trying to turn the person who's wearing it or having it on that little chintzy Pandora kind of thing invisible. So from my perspective, I'd be thinking to explain it, we got to think the energy. So the problem with a lot of these charms and things is that there's the energy. What's those things? You know, the smelly water in a bottle that you stick the sticks in? What are they called?
Reed diffusers.
Reed diffusers, yeah. I know people that spend a lot of money on reed diffusers, right? And then they last like a week and then you can't smell them anymore. And then they got to buy another one. I liken a lot of the kind of, when you design charms and things, you really need to think about that. You've got to think it's got to be a constant supply of energy, okay? Now, there's one type of thing that works on the same principle, and that's car air fresheners. You see, reed diffusers, they've got to have enough smell and scent to travel up the little reeds, the little sticks, and then disperse in quite a large room, and you'd be able to smell that. A car air freshener, like the one I got in my car, you put it and you clip it to the little vent, and you can't really smell it a lot, but when you stick the fan on, then that picks it up and you get a little help with that, you see. So from my perspective, if it's a charm designed to be worn on the person, if you're talking about the way that you were saying, Alex, that, you know, magic dampening the aura, you could be thinking your aura is interacting with that little cat that you're wearing, because it's a part of your aura and it's affecting the aura. So what you could be thinking is that I'm going to design that charm to draw the energy from the wearer, transmute that energy, and then change the aura. So it's almost like a filter, I suppose, kind of like a filter, because you can go through the rigmarole of saying, okay, I'm going to use something like a planetary energy and I'm just going to tie it to that, or I'm going to tie it to a moon phase, or I'm going to tie it to something that produces a lot of energy. But at the same time, you've got to think, well, you could do that, but at the same time, if you haven't programmed that properly, it could be that type of trinket or charm. When you take it off, you swear you put it in the jewelry box, but no one can ever find it because it's a bloody invisible jewelry charm that never fucking switches off. So even though it's at the bottom of that little trinket case, that jewelry cabinet, it's there, but you can't bloody see it. You pour it out and all of that. I'm sure we've all got drawers full of stuff like that where we know there's something in the drawer. We know it's there because we put it there, but we can't fucking find it. And a month later we find it. I think of it in terms of, well, we only want that charm to work generally if it's on us, if it's made to make us invisible. Therefore, it makes sense that, like one of those little scale-electric cars, it only needs the power when it's on the track, or like a bumper car with the little thing that goes on the rack. It only is empowered and works with what's powering it. Okay, think about that. So if I created the charm to work and draw power, you know, what it is changing. So it's filtering and changing your aura to make people ignore you. And that's really what you're talking about with the invisibility, is making you kind of be ignored. Okay, and people not really register you, even when you're fucking talking to them
you wanted
face-to-face.
basic invisibility. It was me expecting you to want real invisibility.
Okay. But in terms of if you've got enough power output, because you would have enough power output in general for that. Now, a lot of people that don't give off a lot of energy and, you know, mundanes perhaps, it may be a little dangerous to create a talisman, or a charm or something that needs a lot of energy to run. So if you're wanting to make someone physically invisible using magic, then that would require a lot more energy. And if that energy is being taken from the wearer, and that wearer is a particularly weak person that doesn't give off,
you might be invisible, energy, but you might also be dead.
Stuff can happen. Yeah. So, you know, I think of it, you need to start thinking of, when you're empowering these things, what is powering it? And then when you start, because I normally start with the energy and the power and how much I need it to. And then when I think, what can I use to power this? I might pick one, but also I might pick two. Like these hybrid cars. They run on electric, but then they also run on, like, I don't know, fossil fuels and hydrogen and shit like that. I don't really understand how they work, but they're a hybrid. They run on two things, right? Yeah. So you could be thinking, okay, how does this run? Okay, it'll interact with my aura and it might take a little bit of energy from that. But generally speaking, it's taking, perhaps if you want it to be sly, because I'm all about being sly, is taking the energy, because where attention goes, energy flows. That attention that is being given to you, it takes that away and it doesn't give it back. When eyes work, it's light bouncing off of an object and hitting you in the eye. What if the object doesn't let go of the light, so it doesn't enter your eye? Think about that. Think about that and then apply that to the aura. So all that attention that's being fed to you is energy, but what happens if it doesn't come back to the person that's sending it? You're
like
technically
I said,
invisible.
Breaking physics is way easier than trying to, you know, bend people's minds.
Right, okay. We've got some more questions, actually. Is it in the realm of possibility to tether a charm to an energy stream and use it like lenses to when protecting your own energy? I think that's kind of what I just said. I didn't read that, but I think you could apply that.
You have just explained that, yeah.
All right. So Michelle says, what if you just want to charm yourself? Well, I would
Liam
suggest
charms himself all the time.
I'd suggest standing
Every
in front
mirror
of
he
a
walks past.
full-length mirror and telling your best jokes, and watch that person, that man or woman in the mirror, chuckle away. That would be what I would call charming yourself. A feature like your eyes or your hands for a specific purpose, or is that more glamour magic? Give us a purpose and give us an example, and then maybe we'll go into a way in which
We'll
maybe
explain.
you do that. Yeah. So give us one that you're trying to do, and then we might use that as a practical example then. And then Alex puts, I wonder if this is why the Fae and other spirits are invisible to us, meaning they actively use these sorts of techniques on us, or something like this.
No, they're invisible because they don't have physical bodies. That makes being invisible much easier because
Hence
light
why
works.
psychics can see them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that within the realms of Fae type magic, they would have
A physical form, just not here.
Well, they would have magical ability to perhaps do that kind of thing, but in general, I don't think you're likely to do that. So you could think of it in terms of, if I'm already invisible, would I do something to make me already invisible?
Mm.
So the invisible man does not make spells and trinkets to make themselves invisible through sight, but what they might do is they might make themselves invisible to a heat-sinking missile, because that's a different type of eye. So the psychic sight, they might make you invisible. They might make themselves invisible from that, or try. Depends on how good your sight is. Do you eat a lot of carrots? Yeah, there we go. Michelle puts like a money charm. So the original question was, what if you just wanted to charm yourself, a feature like your eyes or your hands for a specific purpose, or is that more glamour magic? I'm not too sure what you mean by money charm. Normally when I'm thinking charms, I'm thinking physical. If you're talking, okay, what I want to do is I want to make my hand have a life of its own, so that when I'm going into place my bet at the casino on the roulette wheel, I always pick the right number, even though I don't know what the right number is, but the hand always knows.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you mean, Michelle?
I don't think it was, but that was a good example. But the no, I think, yeah, what's confusing us is the question of eyes or hands for the specific purpose. So if you're making it so that your eyes glow to people with money that feel the need to throw money at you, then yes, that would be a type of glamour magic. If you're if we're talking about charms,
that's also stripper
and charming
magic,
your
Chris.
hands. What was that?
That's also stripper magic.
That's
Strippers,
stripper
I
magic.
hear, I wouldn't know such things, but I hear that when people see them, they just can't help but throw the money at them.
But yeah, kind of, if you mean what Liam's talking about, where you charm a particular part of your body to be drawn to a certain
Charm
outcome.
the booty, and then people throw money at it.
We're still talking about strippers.
Might work well in America, because in America they have $1 bills, don't they? $1 bills in America. It hurts a lot of strippers when you throw pound coins at them at the strip club. Just saying, you'd have to upgrade to £5. Strippers in the UK cost a lot more, because there ain't no $1 bills. It's £5 notes. Yeah.
Okay. Have you finished talking about strippers now? Can we get back to the point?
Well, it wouldn't be an episode of Fausty Witches if we didn't talk about strippers or something like that. I mean, I didn't bring up the tiger penis again, did I? Oh, wait a minute, I just did.
Yeah.
Over to you, Chris.
No.
I need stripper magic. Stripper magic. No, we need to do a course on that, Chris. And I tell you what, to make that course perfect, I think we need to go and do a lot of research. So Linda says,
I'm sure you do.
how
You're not
extensive a
using the
change of
expenses account for that.
appearance can a glamour be used? Really?
No.
Can we not use the Patreon money to go see
No.
Dream Boys again?
No.
Okay.
Speak for yourself. I wouldn't go see Dream Boys. Boring.
They weren't
Anyway.
that good, I have to be honest.
How extensive a change of appearance can a glamour be used for? Pretty big ones. I've made myself looking like a woman.
That's a good question, I think. That's a very good question.
Are you going to answer
You
it?
can answer it?
See, I did. So yeah, it's as big as you want it to be. What the limit is not what can be changed, it's how much power it requires.
What? What sort of physical change are you talking about? It's as big as you want it to be.
Oh, for God's sake.
I think I just caught the end of that then.
Grow up.
Because it's buffering a little bit.
Grow up.
My Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so essentially, if you wanted to make yourself look like an elephant, you could make yourself look like an elephant. It would just require, the bigger the change, the more energy that's required to maintain it. So, you know, so yeah, so it's a case of, it really just depends on how big is the change from you to that. So, for example, if you're changing the color of your eyes, that is a fairly simple change, because all eyes are brown. The pigment that is used to color all eyes is a brown pigment. So the quantity of pigment needed in order to make that change is very small. So if you're wanting a beard to appear, not a massive change, because at the end of the day, the concept of a beard is small enough for you to project that. When you're starting to make yourself look like a completely different thing or different person, they get slightly more and more advanced power. So, you know, if you're making a change from looking masculine to feminine, that's starting to get harder. If you're trying to make yourself look like an elephant or a tree, you're then having to bend light and have an understanding of how that works, and enough power to make that happen.
I had a client, it was a beginner who wanted to do this actually. They wanted to turn themselves. It was one of these questions that a lot of witches will turn around and say, that's a load of shit, you can't do that. Right? Put the light on. That's a load of shit, so you can't do that. They said, I want to turn myself so I'm physically another person, and I want everyone to think that I'm that other person so I can fuck about. And I said, well, you're a beginner, so you're probably not going to be able to swing that level of a magic. However, why don't you do name magic? Okay. And what I said was, what you want them to do is you want them to completely forget your name and think that you're the name of the person that they wanted to. This person worked in retail. And what happened was, every time they were naughty on the till, everyone seemed to think that it was another person that was naughty on the till. Yeah. You see, the person they wanted to change it to. So if it's, I don't know, let's pluck a name out of the ethers, which I'm just making up and isn't a real person. Let's pick a Jane. If Jane wanted to pretend to be Stacy, then we don't need Jane to look like Stacy. All we need is everyone to think she's Stacy and think her name's Stacy, so that when they complain about the name Stacy was rude to me, you see, that can takes a lot less energy. So it depends on what you're trying to do. I tend to think, because you see this a lot, you need to think, okay, what do I actually want? Because very often people will think, well, I want to be another person because that's the only way I see this working. But actually, it's not the only way, and there could be a more efficient way. That Jane, she just wanted to get away with being rude to people on the till. So she thought, if I'm another person, I'll do that. But actually, if we think about, well, she just wants to get away with it. So all we need is that the complaints don't go
to
about her that are made.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like I said, it's how big is the change that you need it to happen.
Anyone still using ones at strip clubs with the cost of living here isn't going to get much sugar. Okay. The Tiger King is totally nuts. Let's not get into that. Well, you're the one that put the comment and brought it all back up again, Alex.
No, let's not talk about it.
Okay. I've only seen someone appear taller. Interesting.
Okay.
That's interesting. Another question / comment. Just logged on, so I did not get the beginning. Do you practice candle magic? Sorry if my question is unrelated to the discussion. The question's completely unrelated to the discussion, so we can go into it, because obviously we haven't already covered that, so that's good. Although there is a Fausty Witches episode, which is all about candle magic. I think is our first ever one. So you can go on the Keap on Chatting page on Facebook, or you can go onto the Keep on Chatting YouTube channel, and it's an episode of Fausty Witches, which is all about candle magic. Do I personally use candle magic? Yeah, I'll use candle magic every now and then if I kind of feel like I want to use a candle for magic. If I feel like I want to use a candle for magic, I'll go and do that. And very often there's certain spells, if I'm working for someone else, in front of someone else and teaching, I do like to use candle magic, because kind of the idea of making something physical literally disappear in a puff of fire and smoke and then manifest in the real world is quite cool symbolically. So I do quite like candle magic personally. Alex says, Liam, you have a dirty mind. Lol. You don't know the half of it, matey. You do not know the half of it.
You really
and I'll
don't.
get told off if I be any dirtier than I already have been. Yeah. I think it might be easier to just create a servitor or egregore and house the item on your person. Have its purpose to be charm you 100% all the time rather than to create 100 charms on you going all the same time. Yeah, I mean, this is approaches to magic at the end of the day. So whatever you think is the approach you want to take, providing it works, that's all that matters. And I think when you get past the basic level, you go into taking approaches that you find the most fun. So a lot of the times it's all about in the beginning trying to make it work and then working out why it worked, and then really it becomes about, oh, I need this quickly, what's the quickest way of making this happen? Or okay, I'm going to do this project, what's the funnest kind of way I can go about this? So if you like servitors and that, and you find that the easiest and the funnest thing to do, then you go ahead and do that. Obviously there's a lot of different approaches you could take to do the same thing. Some may be better than others, okay? But, you know, that is magic at the end of the day. So, you know.
And that leads me on to my answer to Siobhan's question.
Sounds amazing.
Which was, do we use candle magic? And about the only candle magic I use is for parties. So I'll add a little energy to a candle when it's lit in order to create an atmosphere. The nice thing about using something external rather than you having means I don't have to think about it, you know. So the candles are already charged, they know what they're going to do. All you've got to do is light them and you can focus on the drinking, because as we all know, as people start to drink more, you lose the focus. Not very helpful when you're trying to do magic. So you know, that's probably the most common use I've probably ever had for is for setting scenes. You know, like when we do the dumb supper, the candle part of it, the magic that's in that part is just about setting the scenery for what's going on. I don't know if you heard any of that or not, or if you're just nodding along, Liam.
I don't know. It kind of cut out a little bit. Yeah, with the candle magic, because obviously I do a lot of candle making for some of the candles on the shop. So what we always get is we always get kind of misshapen ones that come out aren't quite coloured properly. So I tend to have, when it gets to the quantities where when we've made candles and they've not necessarily worked out the kind of runts of the litter, there's a stack of them. So I kind of think, oh, I got to use them up. So I'll do a bit of candle magic. I'll take a candle magic approach because I've got too many candles that can't sell.
Yeah.
So, I do that because normally nowadays I've got a couple of misshapen candles I want to use up. I don't want to throw them away. So I know what I'll do. I'll take a candle magic approach instead of another approach. But yeah, I mean, sometimes I just give them away to people as well. But there we go. So Linda also says, Chris, do you create sigils? Is it easy? Sigils is one of the things that a lot of beginners get on really, really well with, actually. I find that beginners get on really well with sigils because they find the concept behind it super simple. And they're putting a lot of their own energy and, stamp onto the kind of sigil thing. We do have a sigil magic mini course on the YouTube channel, on the Thoth TV YouTube channel. I will see if I can find... Yeah, so the Thoth TV YouTube channel on there, we've got quite a lot of sigil magic videos and stuff. So if that's something you're interested in, you could try that. Or in the Witchcraft Live Facebook group, there's a sigil magic video.
That's the orange ball one.
A lot of people have had a lot of success with that. They found that quite a fun one, I think, didn't they, Chris?
Is that the orange ball one?
See there?
You can't hear me, can you? That's fine. I'm assuming it's the orange ball one,
no.
So I'll just carry on.
Not there?
You can't hear me.
Yeah, the orange ball one.
Yeah. So I can't think what we were saying.
Yeah, the orange ball one.
Yeah. See, there must be a lag.
Orange ball.
I think there's a lag. Where's he gone again? Okay, next one. Linda says, are sigils like symbols to represent a lot of words? Seriously, I would go either Witchcraft Live or the Thoth TV and just watch them. We'll explain them in much better, more detail than we can on here. But essentially, in short, a sigil is not necessarily words. It can also be concepts. But basically, it's the word I'm really going to hate that I'm going to use, and Liam's going to laugh and pull faces. It's about bottling up an intention into a symbol. So what you're doing is you are putting an arrangement, and what normally has to happen with a sigil is you normally destroy it in order to release it. So you have to charge and then release, charge and release. So it's only the same as if you charge a candle or a crystal or whatever. The difference is with a sigil, it's a symbol or an image, in the idea that yes, an image can say 1,000 words. So yeah, it's a horrible word. I hate the word intention, but it's about the only way I can think to actually explain how a sigil works. But like I said, Thoth TV, there's a whole mini course. I think it's about 4 videos, isn't it? 4 or 5 videos. But the best one that everyone loves doing is the orange ball one, which is on the Witchcraft Live, which is a little sigil magic. So you design it in order to make an orange ball appear. It's quite fun. And literally, I don't think there are any 2 answers that have been the same for that one, has there, Liam?
No, it's a funny one.
It's a good one. It's a
great one to start with, because of course the people don't care whether it comes or not.
Yeah.
A lot of
If,
people wait when they're trying to learn magic. They try and apply their magical skills to something that's really important, that they really need, really want, get themselves out of debt, get themselves a lover, healing, something like that.
yeah.
And actually, when you're starting off, you want to do magic for things you don't want, because that way you don't care. You're not too worried about the outcomes and that, and you can kind of build upon that and start biting off more important, bigger things. Here's a really interesting question, actually, from Alex. If you're buying a charm, is it better to have it custom made for you by the witch in question rather than buying a random charm in their shop? Now, I would say if you're buying a charm or buying a supplement or buying a herb or something like that, you do not know whether what is being advertised is actually a real thing. So you've got to go by the reputation of the company or person is coming from. The good thing about it being a physical shop, if you walked into the physical shop and you saw a bunch of charms, you should, if you go to the person behind the till, say, how does this charm work and how was it made? If they can't tell you, I would not buy it, because they should be able to know how it was made. So from my perspective, it's really all about the reputation and how much you trust the person that you're buying from. I'm presuming if you're buying a charm from someone that you don't, you may
trust
be a
it.
mundane or a beginner and you may not be able to necessarily psychically tune in, reverse engineer it and see how it's working, so you're really going on trust of where it's coming from. Again, like with anything, what you want is someone that you're buying things from with a good reputation, and you want to understand, really, people should, when it comes to magic, I think, take more interest in how the magic works instead of just going, oh, well, that's magic. It's a bath bomb that gives me a love. I throw it in the bath and I have a bath in it. I would definitely be saying to that person, well, you should be understanding how that works, why it works, how was it made. You don't necessarily need to go away and buy it and do it yourself. But roughly, if I want to use a drill, I should have a rough idea of how it works. And if I understand how it works, I definitely know how to use it. I used to sell a lot of drills to people, and I used to buy with a lot of DIYers that use drills. And there's this thing called the safety, and very often the safety was on in the drill; it would not turn because they don't understand how the little clicky mechanism works. That there's a middle bit.
Really?
Oh yeah, seriously.
Okay. That's a story for
Working
another
in a
time.
DIY shop, the amount of people that would return drills because they say it don't work and the safety's on, it would be unbelievable. And then when I worked as an electrician, going out to people's houses and you got some person, some DIY trying to put up some shelves and they're like, mate, can I use your drill? Mine ain't working. I'm like, oh, that's a Makita. Have you pushed the switch so it goes that way round? Yeah, I've done that. Yeah, I've done that. I said, give it air, you click it, and then it goes. And they look like a complete idiot because they are a complete idiot. But look, I won't go off on a tangent.
No, because it's completely unrelated. That's even worse a tangent than your normal ones. But what I was going to do is pick up what you just said about bath bombs. That's a perfect example there, really, of when you're buying something someone else has created, is the fact that actually, what does that person that you don't know, who you've just bought a bath bomb from, know about what you need in order to find love? So they may be able to bottle their idea of love in order to put it into a bath bomb for you to bathe in it. What you're probably going to get there is the love of yourself, because you're just bathing in love.
That's normally how they work. That's how they wangle it, innit? How can you
So,
expect someone else to love you if you do not accept yourself? Bathe in this $29.99 bath bomb, buy 3 of them, and then you might just love yourself enough for someone
to
else
find
to
somebody
want you.
else. Okay.
Or is that just the Glastonbury shops? I don't know. I got someone talking about intention, Chris. So what's this? I find it. Intention is really a good word. It makes you think of a complete concept and refine what you want. It's always important to have a clear idea of what you want before you start embarking on the journey, I think, because
And
less of
Linda,
a chance of things going wrong.
Linda, it's not the word that I hate. It's the fact that it's the people that use the word that I dislike. And that's the problem. So it's not the word intention. The word intention is perfect to explain what I mean. It's just the fact that the Insta witches have ruined it for me feeling comfortable to say the word, because it then becomes hashtag all about the intention, and not about the practice, and it's not. So anyway, oh sorry, Linda's got to go, but yes, watch us, and obviously all these videos are on the Keep on Chatting Network's YouTube and their Facebook, so you can watch us back whenever you like.
Well, we're at the end of the show, Chris, now. It's been an hour already.
Okay. Well, is there any kind of
for the
burning
Sigil Magic
questions?
Chores, go on the Thoth TV YouTube channel. Yeah. And then if you want mentoring from us, you can go on the Thoth Witchcraft Patreon. If you want to have a chat to some other real life witches and see what they're up to, you can go on the Witchcraft Live Facebook group, right? And then obviously this show, the Fausty Witches Show, is on a Keep on Chatting network on YouTube, Keep on Chatting YouTube channel, and of course on the Keep on Chatting Facebook page. It's also in the Witchcraft Live Facebook group because we also put it in there as well. So there we go. We are the Fausty Witches. This has been the Fausty Witches Show. We will be back next week.
He's not listening to me.
What was that you were saying? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You just either aren't listening to me or
I can't hear you. You didn't say nothing.
I did. It's fine. All I was going to say was the Witchcraft Live is also full of videos like Thoth TV that cover a load of different basics. That is really helpful if you're just starting out.
Yeah.
But yes, roll credits.
Okay.
If you're tired of all the neo-pagan claptrap that's on the internet and want to see some real witchcraft, please subscribe to the Thoth TV YouTube channel. If you really want to kick things up a notch, try clicking the No Holds Barred podcast link.